Yeah, it was brutal. I've only had like the full blown COVID. That was that would be the second time. So the first time I had it was like back when it was super popular in 2021. And I remember what's interesting about that is hang on a second. Hold on a second, fiddling with my
No,
stupid
you're good.
rugby thing. What was interesting about that time, it was a year and a half maybe. For a long time I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I just didn't get it a lot. And I was working on front lines, kind of not first responder, but definitely a front lines kind of job because I was working in the acute detox and then the other inpatient rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I did get it, oh, I remember because I got it toward the end of the second facility that I worked, the inpatient, and I had all this. That was still when you had like, I can't remember if it was really paid time off is what I had, but then they called it COVID pay. It was
Yeah.
basically paid time off, but it was toward the end of my working there, so it just was, like worked out perfectly. But I remember anyway, whatever. I remember getting it, and I was like, it was kind of all the stuff that I'd been reading about for so many months, and it sucked. The symptom I didn't have then, like I didn't lose taste that I
Mm-hmm.
could that, but I had all the other stuff. Um, what really stuck out to me was the respiratory part of it, and
Mm-hmm.
like a bad flu, because then I the drips at night in your throat and you're coughing all night, and then you've got the raw
Yeah.
throat and it's hard to sleep, and then but then also the migraine. And I'm not a person that really gets migraines.
They're so bad.
Dude, it was brutal. And then the other thing about it was the recovery time. And part of that was I had I had just been in pandemic lockdown, so my immune system was not nearly what it was. It wasn't like significantly lessened, but it was definitely lower.
Yeah.
And I was also in my mid 40s.
Yeah.
And that's why it was like funny to read, you would read these are the symptoms of COVID: shortness of breath, heart, it's difficult going upstairs, muscle weakness. I'm like, wait a minute,
You're like, what's new?
I might just be old. Like, you know what I mean? Not,
Yeah.
there was also there was a like a mental fog or confusion. That
Yeah.
was, that one was real. And this last time, so a couple weeks ago, I don't even know what made me think to test it. Because I just thought, I was like, man, I just don't feel good. And I haven't really been eating super healthy. So like not bad, but like I'm like, oh, I need to eat better. I need
Mm-hmm.
to get some more vitamins and things like that, and exercise a little bit more. But I thought to test it with those, little at-home tests,
Yeah.
and then I read like, I was like, oh, that makes sense, because it was like it just felt different. And now there was the other time a couple months ago, we were already, you and I were already doing this, and we had a conversation about it, and I was like, I just got the regular flu. I guess it was, it might have been technically COVID. I didn't test it though,
Mm-hmm.
that I can remember. I don't know, but it was like,
Dude, you were coughing pretty good back then. I remember.
yeah, that was when I got really, but I attribute that more to letting the immune system go, because a number of other significant life changes were occurring at the same time. So it would be
Mm-hmm.
impossible to truly dissect what was pure COVID, flu-like symptoms, and what was like lifestyle changes. Like, so this job that I have now is different than other jobs that I've had that have been labor intensive in terms of hours.
Mm-hmm.
There's a mental component, and and anyone, I would think, in the human services, social services, frontline, the reality of, being very aware of self-care and burnout, which you and I talk about a lot. That's part of it too. And I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you gotta rest, man.
Yeah. I know.
All while turning 40. Let's see. Well, I'll be 49 in as I cough. It's like, of course, psychosomatic.
Residual. It's residual. Oh no, yeah, we're just talking about it, so that's why you're
Turning,
coughing.
yeah, turning 40, right. Turning 49 in October, like that's when the body starts to be tired, be middle-aged.
Yeah. I mean, I tell my staff as we're, because last week was brutal. That my experience, because you texted me last week and you're like,
But you
hey,
didn't
dude,
have
I'm,
COVID. You had a stomach thing,
oh
right?
yeah, it was a stomach bug. It was like a 2-day bug because the kids started school on August 12th, which is really early this year for some reason,
Dude,
but
it's crazy.
they get back in school on Tuesday, August 12th, and inevitably, I don't know what your experience is with like conversations you have with your sister or your niece, but do they ever experience the whole petri dish phenomenon, like where you get into
Mm,
school? Is she in public school, your
yo, yeah.
niece? Yeah.
Yeah, but they're really like, um, I don't remember, I don't know. They're pretty active. And I think
Yeah.
that there's something to be said for the arid climate because they live up in the high desert.
Mm.
And so, and my niece is active and has always been healthy. Now, my sister has sort of uh, uh, I was going to say compromised immune system, but
Hmm.
which isn't quite the case, but she has like some chronic, like she has Crohn's,
Oh,
is it,
okay.
you know what I mean? Some chronic
Yeah, yeah.
pain. And so, and susceptible to like really bad allergies that feel like but because of that, like she's hyper aware of her immune system.
Hmm.
But anyway, so I don't think they experience it exactly in their home like that, but they are like, um, I mean, I'm aware of it.
Yeah. Because we've had a good summer up until the last week. And let's see. So when you were down for the count and we had
Oh my
chatted and
gosh.
I was like, hey, I'm actually up in Logan anyways for this family reunion that Molly, the Christensen side, so that's my wife's side of the family. It was so cool. It was my father-in-law, his younger brother. Unfortunately, a sister of his has passed
Oh,
from a brain cancer. That was a couple years ago. But and his youngest sister, all of their kids and their kids, and we're getting down to like the great grands. We all met up in Logan. So
mm-hmm.
I don't know if we caught it from there or whether it was from my kids getting back in school. But yeah, I got hit on Wednesday, like midday. I was like, I need to go home. And yeah, but it was like a day and a half, just bleh, like stomach bug. It was brutal.
I catch stuff now when I travel.
Mm-hmm.
So the last couple of summer, like even if I'm on a plane for just a little bit, and it's been 2 years now since I've been on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
But even if I travel, and actually the only times I've traveled in fact, the last 3 years, anywhere that I've actually traveled, it's been to Utah or up through Utah up to Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been hypersensitive to the air quality in like this in Utah County.
Oh, it's bad.
Or, yeah, like it's
It's
really
bad
it's
here.
like it burns. It's what people used to say about LA. Like you come to
Mm-hmm.
California and you go to like not so much San Diego, but up in LA. Although now because there's so many like there's wildfires are more prevalent, and so the air has got particulates in it that just like sting your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've always had that in like Utah, Provo, Utah County, Salt Lake, Wasatch, the Wasatch Front, like, and so I think that like, yeah. The other thing too is that I have a job now that's like pretty like my work schedule's pretty um 5 days a week, that weekends off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm I'm still not accustomed to scheduling and booking and setting aside vacation time or time off
Mm-hmm.
because basically all the work prior in my adult life is like gig based, kind of like a couple weeks on, couple weeks off, couple months
Yeah.
on, couple months off
Like,
type of
hey,
work.
we need you for this. Come out. We got
Contractor,
yeah, we need 2 weeks with
subcontractor.
you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so then, so I just get in work mode, and then I have to consciously take the time off. And even though the time off, this last, I, like, I'm better. Like, I still don't work very well 5 days on, 2 days off.
Mm-hmm.
Would rather work 24 days and straight or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or like EMTs and firefighters have like the, 4 12-hour shifts, and then they have a big chunk of time off. My
Right.
body's more accustomed to that than like the 9 to 5 job. And the other thing is that for a period of time too, I also worked like overnight shifts and
Yeah.
what's the word? See, this is what happens. Mentally slow. Unconventional work hours.
Yeah.
And you work an overnight shift.
Like holidays, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've never been like,
Like holiday pay, unconventional work pay,
Yeah.
overtime pay, stuff like that. Yeah.
Working. In fact, the jobs and like the work and the jobs that I did in my 20s and even into my 30s were like, it was kind of assumed I was going to work holidays, and it was just like part of like the deal. And then I mean, I was not a tremendous sacrifice of like family time. Like we would work it in, and I was I've always had supportive people around me. So it's never been like not a hardship, but like, I'm talking in terms of like the mentality of like, if I'm in work mode, because the one thing I really struggle with, maybe it's a symptom of ADD, I don't know. If I have momentum going or hyper focus, I can get, and you get kind of locked into a flow state or like just a productivity mindset. I can't shut that off.
Yep.
And I want to hang on to it, sometimes to my own physical detriment, because then that's when burnout happens. And then it's hard to rev that up again. And I'm getting a little bit better, but I still would like rather work. I'm like, man, if we're in getting stuff done mode, let's get some stuff done.
Yeah.
And then time off mode can be, you
Yeah.
know, the old stupid saying, like, I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of thing.
Right.
Like, I'm like, yeah, I don't have any time to waste.
See, when you mentioned that, I chalk that more up to like an obsessive compulsivity when people get perseverative on like whether they're certain thought processes, creative ideas, things like that, where they get like super locked in, which is technically a subset of like what we would consider hyperkinetic disorders, which under that umbrella falls obsessive compulsivity, ADD, ADHD, Tourette syndrome, tic syndromes. But that I experience the same thing you do, like when you get hyper focused on something. Like tonight, I'm preparing because I'm hosting a staff barbecue tomorrow. This is
Nice.
it's kind of like our end of summer barbecue. So already downstairs, I have the cooling racks on my baking sheets, getting ready to prep the chicken, and I'm already thinking about what my plan is tomorrow of getting up, prepping the mashed potatoes. So we're gonna do double fried chicken wings. It's the
Nice.
crispiest, most delicious thing. Hey, when you come in October, I'm cooking those up. They're so good. So
Nice.
double fried chicken wings with some steak, mashed potatoes, a side salad, and then my staff, they're gonna bring the desserts and the drinks. But I'm gonna nail that because that's my focus, you know?
Everything you just described is, I would be so much more comfortable being in your position of, I am putting the thing on, not the necessarily the inviting,
Right,
but like the work of, because a lot of that type of event is not just you're hosting it at your home, but you're cooking.
right.
And so, but it's also the type of cooking that will take place, because it's a barbecue. The cooking takes place while the guests are there. It's not like prepared,
Hmm.
guests arrive and then it's served. And so, what that means for you, and this is what I love, is like, I like to be busy. I
Yeah.
I would like to avoid at all costs having to just attend and just be an attendee,
Yeah.
which, and
100%.
small talk. I would much rather, not like, I want to, not that, like, it's not even like being on, it's not a center of attention thing. Well, maybe it is, but you know what I mean? But like, it's like a service based.
Right.
I want to put the event like, so in my younger days, being like a church dance DJ, mobile DJ, weddings, like for a long time, I've attended many weddings and wedding receptions,
Mm-hmm.
but as a MC, as a kind of a pseudo event planner, is like involved in the success and the execution of the event, so that whenever I have to go or have to, whenever I get invited to go to just get invited to attend a wedding reception, I have no idea what to do. Like I don't like I'll start picking up, like, not so it's awkward, but I'll start picking, like, I'm not gonna go in the kitchen and be weird, but like I'll start picking up trash. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'll
Yep.
just like I have to do something.
That's so funny.
So
I'm exactly the same.
you describing, like, someone else might hear what you just described and go, wow, that's so much work to put that on at your home and you've got to clean and da, 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 da. I'm like, that's the only way. I would much rather have a big event that I'm in charge of, like catering, serving,
Right.
and then cleaning up. The type of hosting where you're like, some people can, who's really good at it that I've seen anyway over the years, is Tyson's wife, Heather,
So good.
is the quintessential, and Tyson's pretty good at it too, but Heather's like, can, like, with the work the room type,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, she hits it on every angle because she at least presents as like naturally extroverted,
Yeah.
and just energy gets recharged from connecting with everybody in any given room. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, totally. I have a story to share about that. In December, when I went down to Dallas, because Tyson and I, at the time, we were planning on going to the Big 12 championship game, which should have been BYU versus whoever, right? Didn't
Right.
end up that way, but I planned the trip anyways to make it a little bit like of a golf trip. And Heather, knowing that I was going down to Dallas and we weren't going to go to the game because there was no game to go to, um, she had already preemptively texted my wife and said, "What are Casey's favorite treats?"
Whoa.
And so when I showed up, she had a bag of spit sunflower seeds, uh, the mint fudge like cookies, like the grasshopper cookies, like Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies. And as soon as I walked through the door, she was like, "Welcome." It was so cool. Like, so amen to what you said. Like, Heather is phenomenal at that stuff.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like that are really interesting because they have that, they and you can't do that for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it makes them uncomfortable, not in a bad way, but like,
Right.
or for you to say, or if Molly had said to Heather, "Oh no, you don't need to do that." No. That
Yeah, yeah.
it's her, like,
She's like, "I'm doing this no matter what." So,
it's her way of, like, I mean, I guess there's like a love language or language of appreciation.
mm-hmm.
This is what I bring to the world. You know what I mean? This
Mm-hmm.
level of that, a person like that with that level of, like, conscientious thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
I have it a little bit, but in a different, more like, and not so. That takes so much forethought, and I don't always have that. I I'm a little more impulsive or in the moment, like
Mm-hmm.
figure it out on the fly.
Right.
That I'm pretty good at. Yeah, but yeah, when people have that level of thoughtfulness, it's pretty awesome.
It's really cool. No, I'm glad you mentioned that actually, because I'm thinking of one employee in particular that works with me. Um, I know for a fact because I've done this one other time. It was about 2 years ago, and I'm trying to make a habit of it where we get together. So we always do a Christmas party, but I always like to do like a appreciation, like end of summer, invite them over to my house. We do this type of meal, and one of my employees is always like by my side. What can I do? What can I do to help? And instead of like, so tomorrow when that happens, instead of like, "Oh no, don't worry about it," I'm gonna engage him because I know that's exactly what he needs, and the reason why he would actually come would be to help. So
Yeah,
I don't know, just a thought. I'm gonna engage that guy tomorrow, which is gonna be awesome. So
that's good to be aware of, because not everybody, I've had to learn how to delegate it, because mostly I want to be, what can I do? Nothing. but what I'm actually doing is like, so, like someone that's wired the way that I'm wired wants to be delegate something. Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Have something for them because that's, and you know, with this person long enough that you're like, oh, I'll have a task. I'll have a, here's an
Yeah.
assignment. You be the watch the door or like
Yeah.
chair guy
Right.
or this specific like this monitor the grill, keep the drinks like something could be
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Um, and now I'm more aware of it when people ask, they're like, "Oh, can I do something?" I'm like, "Yeah, great. Let me."
Yeah. Because the fun thing for me, and I think you would agree if you were in my shoes too, like in preparing for this, I know I'm gonna be out of bed probably 8 a.m. separating the potatoes so I can dump them in the pot, and then what I like to do is soak them in water, throw some ice on top, and just let them soak, because that's kind of what draws the starch out of the potatoes.
Oh,
And then so I'm thinking about that. Then you drain them. I repeat that process one more time. And then even just to get the chicken wings started, I'm gonna have to throw them in the fryer at probably 10:45 a.m. because you fry them for 20 minutes at 220 degrees. Then you take them out, let them rest for an hour. So
whoa,
it's a whole process that I'm gonna be going through from probably 8 a.m. tomorrow until they get to my house at noon. And
that sounds amazing.
that will make my morning, that will already make my day, just getting that going. So when they get here, the food's probably almost going to be about ready to go, except for the steaks. I gotta wait for those, but
That's the ultimate way of having a
it's
dinner
fun.
party or
Yeah.
that type of thing because it like is part like you have to attend to this that has to be cooked right then and then served right then. It can't
Yep.
be prepped. I mean, there can be the prep of like the marinade and whatever else, but like, oh yeah, that's the only kind of event. That sound like even though that's technically work,
That's fun for me.
that sounds like a straight up vacation. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's fun.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yep.
sitting around doesn't always seem appealing to me, relaxing. Like literally everybody relaxes differently.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't seem um I'm
And
not
then
always
the
yeah.
other thing that kind of gets me going too is I find it a challenge at the same time that as I'm doing something like that, and my wife's going to help me because she's awesome and she's in charge of the salad. That's her job. And
Yeah.
she's going to make like a phenomenal side dish salad. But I always like to see if I can get all the dishes done before the food hits the table.
Okay.
So while I'm cooking, I'm actually doing dishes at the same time and cleaning the kitchen so it doesn't have to be done after the fact. I mean, yeah, granted, there's some work to do after we're all done eating, but
Hmm.
everything prep wise is going to be cleaned, set, put away as the food is like finishing. So
And
that's my
what
challenge.
and do the kids get involved or
Well,
is
they're going to be at school, but usually I yes I involve them.
because then when everybody attends is oh this is like a work is this during the
It's
work
just a,
day?
yeah. So tomorrow we're not we actually kind of we have the office closed
Oh, I see.
and I'm hosting. So there's six employees that are coming over. Usually it's a plus one, but all their plus ones are going to be working their own jobs.
Got it.
So it's just my six employees, myself, Molly. So there's going to be eight of us, and it's going to be awesome. Can't
Yeah.
wait. And then when you guys get here in October, I'm going to rinse and repeat, and you can be my sous chef.
Amazing. That's gonna be great.
Are you stoked for that? Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm really gonna take. I was gonna actually. I was shooting to be up there this weekend. I was gonna try to attend a charity concert that my aunt and one of my cousins, one of her daughters, they're putting on a charity concert in Salt Lake. They both are accomplished string players and
Oh, sweet.
musicians, and like that whole side of that whole part of the family is like they all play like every stringed instrument.
That's
They're just
incredible.
talented musicians, and I really wanted to come up for that work, but I just took time off not too long ago, and then got sick,
Yeah.
and um, and then this week was a real busy week. Um,
Was it
so
more catch-up work or just abnormally busy?
catch up work is constant because
Hmm.
there's always documentation I'm behind on
Right.
because everything requires a case note,
Mm-hmm.
everything, and data, and then the nature of like there's just like you just have a big you just there's just a caseload of people that need things
Mm-hmm.
and are in various stages of the whatever the classic stages of motivation to change are.
Mm-hmm.
That shifts depending on circumstances, depending on a whole bunch of factors. So when someone is ready or something, or some things have a real tight deadline, which is kind of frustrating because some of the deadlines and like you have these tight like these really arbitrary like windows of time to get things done, and
Yeah.
it's not like I would imagine like the world of accounting has in like CPAs and taxes. Like
Yeah. We have tax day.
there's
There's
tax
deadlines.
day and there's
Yeah.
fiscal years and there are deadlines that do make sense.
Right.
Semesters, coursework. I don't, you know.
Well, I get subpoenas and I'm told by the judge who's overseeing the case of a client or a plaintiff or a defendant that has been a patient of mine. I get these letters all the time, especially with personal injury cases.
Oh,
You get
jeez.
that in the mail, you've been subpoenaed. We need your clinic notes by this date. And so it's like it's a hard.
Yep.
Sometimes that's easy, if I've got to get that done by that date. Boom.
Yeah. So maybe I shouldn't even say that the deadlines themselves are arbitrary because there does have to be deadlines to everything, or else the world would be chaos. Nothing would ever get done.
Right.
But they are the rules, and this is like maybe the part of social service and government what attributed to whatever
Mm-hmm.
the land of large nonprofit middle management
Mm-hmm.
administration. So many things, policies get set, rules are put in place by people that are not doing like the people that set the standards for the outreach people that work in outreach in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever governing bodies vote on these things, and I'm not talking about like politics. I just mean like at some administrative level.
Right.
Maybe education is like this. I don't know, but like it's like, oh, you've set a curriculum. It's like, yeah, maybe it's like that. Like in teaching, in the teaching world, if a teaching curriculum is set by administrators who don't teach, so the old saying of like those that can't teach administrate or whatever, you know what I mean?
Or
The,
in my world, it's those who can't do teach.
yeah, exactly. Which is
And
kind
that's
of
that's always
crazy.
kind of the joke. Like we rib the our professors that are teaching us at school. It's like, oh, you're not really successful in practice, huh? Yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that like and sometimes you can see where like someone that's a professor of a discipline, because not everybody that's good at a discipline, not every football player that's a super talented football player could coach it.
100%.
And not
Yep.
every, like I was just watching yet again, like I have certain movie clips that I'll just like that are my favorites. Like I won't even watch the full movie. I just go to like the YouTube clips. So I've watched
Yeah.
clips of Moneyball like endlessly. I love at
That
the
movie's
right.
awesome.
Yeah, I attribute it to maybe the writing, but I mean, like it's just a great movie on every level. But like the you would know better because you're the baseball guy. But like Billy Bean wasn't necessarily like he was talented. He was a talented ball player, but he wasn't like it was kind of known. And this is mentioned in the movie. He like didn't achieve. He kind of missed his opportunity to be great as a player,
Right.
but as a coach. And then even as a coach, he had his like failings because he wasn't like he, he could coach, but he couldn't manage. And there's the back and forth between him and his manager,
Yeah, so
played by
Philip Seymour Hoffman,
yeah.
rest in peace. That guy is amazing.
I
But
heard
yeah,
somebody
Billy Bean was, I mean, he was that's and why that's the movie's called Moneyball is because he was the one that put, I mean, he hires Jonah Hill's character, who's the statistician out of Yale, and they figure out how to crunch numbers and look at statistics and say, okay, if we put this guy in this position at that time, or he needs to go play here, this team will succeed. And so
There's
the brains behind it is amazing.
there's a great, speaking of movies that I've only seen essentially in just clips. There's a great clip from a movie. It was one of the movies. It was a lesser known movie about the 2008 financial crash, and it's called Margin Call. Margin Call.
Okay.
And it's not as well known as the other one, the big,
The big squeeze or something like that.
big,
I know it has Steve Carell in it.
yeah, it wasn't that one. Margin Call has like all these really talented actors in it. Jeremy Irons, Demi Moore, Zachary Quinto, Kevin
Big
Spacey.
Short.
Big Short, yeah.
The
The
Big
Big Short
Short's
was
the
the one
other
that
one.
everyone knows, and this was kind of a lesser known one.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey's in it, who before he had all his like it came out that he was dead, kind of
His issues.
scandalous dude.
Yeah.
Still a great actor.
Yeah. Agreed.
He's great. So they're at the tape. It's this big hedge fund. They're all sitting around. They've fired all the people that were starting to alert everyone to the trouble. Like, and now it's like it's the 11th hour and it's like super late and they're all in the boardroom with all of the super powerful, like the people that came down from the old, corporate headquarters.
Yeah.
And they're looking at this report that Zachary Quinto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his character had put it together, and they're like, so you put this draft together, and he's like, well, it wasn't my work initially, but yeah, I essentially put that together. What you're looking at, and they're like, and they're kind of pushing back at him a little bit, and they're like, and what's your like they're trying to discredit him like
Yeah.
briefly, and they're like, so what, how are you working here again, what exactly is your background? And he went to Yale and has a doctorate from MIT in rocket propulsion. And one of the characters goes, wait a minute, so you're literally a rocket scientist. He's like,
Yeah.
basically, yeah. And they're like, why are you working in finance? And all of that to say this point is, he's like, it's all numbers. It's all just numbers. You're just adding up different things, but it's still numbers and algorithms and things. And
Right.
the money in this area is significantly more attractive than the money I could be making as a
Right.
rocket scientist. But because it's like, but you're just adding up something different. And so like the Moneyball character played by Jonah Hill, he started seeing something, he started looking at it, which is funny because baseball is a game of statistics.
Yeah.
And the fact that, it's such a good movie. The old way of thinking and the new way of thinking, like, oh my gosh. And so
Yeah.
Jonah Hill's character, as he probably doesn't play ball. He doesn't play baseball. Like he's not an athlete and he's not a coach, but he identified something about the game that was super valuable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like the best version of it. But then in this other area, and I think it's just the way of the world, man, just sometimes you get these rules and it's like somebody wrote this, who wrote this manual? Somebody that's never done this on a daily basis. Even something as
Right.
simple as like, all right, here's where we're going to keep the company vehicles. And the rule is insurance is such you can't have clients in your personal vehicle. You got to use a work vehicle. Okay, great. Well, we keep the keys in one place and we keep the vehicles nowhere, in a completely different, 2 miles away. It's just the nature of keys are downtown at the main office. And then there's this other lot where we get to keep the vehicles. And then we even have the vehicles is amazing. Not every homeless human services agency has the ability to transport people, and it saves us all the time. But man, like, and they like, you have to mark, you get to set aside time to document the da. Like you can just tell they were rules written by people. I'm like, no, but they've never had to do they've never had to do this step by step, or else
Right.
it would be a totally different conversation.
So that's where that comes back to like your catch up work, and there's always catch up work to do because the system that's set in place maybe isn't as efficient as it could be.
Oh,
Could we
it's
say
not
that?
anywhere close to being as efficient as it could be. Part of that is that it's a relatively in a macro sense, it's a newer field of um like the position of outreach worker isn't like
Mm-hmm.
a traditional front lines first responder, and it's not a, a clinical position that requires an advanced degree or some very specific like mental health training, although
Mm-hmm.
and which is that's another conversation. So it's
Yeah.
like it's this gray area. It's like let's try this now because certain programs come online and certain pilot programs um, work, certain programs don't. Let's throw this against the wall and let's see it stick. We have the benefit of most of the time, most of our grants and our outreach teams, it's very data, it's data based type of
Mm-hmm.
work. Here is where
Nice.
the people are here, like, and thank goodness for that data. And then there's other things that you can tell that that we're just trying.
Yeah.
Let's see, like, and we lose so much time. I mean, time is money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just and that's I think that'll probably always kind of be the case. I
Mm-hmm.
think the medical profession's probably like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure teaching, I mean, and this is you know, friends that I have that are teachers, like it's like, wait a minute, what do we have to do? You spend all this time. Yeah, it's you can just tell like that there's a lack of efficiency.
Yeah.
And then sometimes something works so great, you're like, oh, this this is almost too good.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna change. They're gonna take this away.
Yeah. And
It's like,
that's
oh
funny.
no.
It's funny you mentioned that though too, because I've seen that even in my own personal careers. Like you see trends of things that become efficient that work really well, and then you focus on that stuff. And I think that that kind of digs in, or I don't know if I want to say the word robs, but it, like that grabs the part of me that's obsessive compulsive, and then you get like hyper focused on that one thing. I have so many colleagues that do that. Like they initially start out in practice and they're sports chiropractors, and all they want to do is, you know, kinesiology and specialize in movement. And then they realize that maybe over some time, my practice isn't doing so good. So I'm going to branch out and just really specialize right now in hyperbaric chamber therapy.
Hmm.
And then, okay, there's a ceiling there. So now I'm gonna, so you kind of get pushed and pulled in a lot of different directions. And that's a big fight that I have with people that present. Like, I sat through a Zoom meeting, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, with this group from a company that's based out of UK. It's called Embiosis. And I'm actually really interested in this. But at the same time, I have to think, is this going to pull me away from what I'm really good at and what is like the bread and butter of my practice? But at the same time, I'm leaning towards it because it's this really cool company. So they're starting now in the US and it's called MyFlora,
Okay.
and they send you a kit, and it's kind of one of those at-home test kits like the Dutch testing for hormone analysis or any
Ooh.
of like the at-home dropship testing packets you can get. So this company MyFlora, which is essentially owned by Embiosis is the company,
Mm-hmm.
they give you this kit and it's a stool sample. They give you all the instructions on how to do it. And no, you're not just like dropping massive logs into a bag and like sending it off. Like there's a way to do it where you send off a legitimate stool sample, you get it into the company, and then it
Yeah.
gives you it's AI driven and it pumps out this 50-page report on your microbiota
Whoa.
and your gut microflora and like what foods you should maybe consider eating or avoiding or XYZ. It's really cool.
Whoa.
So I get exposed to something like that. I know for a fact I have a lot of patients that would, number one, benefit from that, but two, like really not only the ones that I know would benefit, but I know there's patients that would want to do that. And so if
Right.
I presented that as an idea, but at the same time, I sit there and I think, well, is that going to distract from the core of what I've built up to this point in 13 years of a clinical career? You know, you get what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and it's I went through this last year. We contracted with a company that we would sit patients down and be able to administer like a 30 to 45 minute neuropsych evaluation. But in order to pay for the service, we dropped like $4,500 for 75 tests. And through the year, we maybe got through like 35. So now I step back and I have to look at that and be like, was that financially responsible? No, I lost money in that. Was it a
Mhm.
cool service? Absolutely. But was it beneficial for my practice and my family and my financial well-being? No, it was a mistake. And so I'm not doing it this year. And these are decisions that you have to kind of make along the way. But, and hopefully you fine-tune the system in that process so that you figure out what sticks. Like you said, throw it against the wall, see what sticks. But it's such a frustrating process to go through when you see the pickle slide down the window and you're like, oh,
Like, oh no.
no, no, that one dropped. Yeah.
That's really
Oh.
interesting.
But yeah, I am like I literally I came home yesterday and I told my wife, I was like, I want to buy 5 kits and just try this out. I want all of us to do it. Molly and I and my 3 kids send in the samples and see what the report pumps back. And
Yeah.
if it resonates with common illnesses that maybe my son Hank gets versus my daughter Rachel, and stuff like that. So I'm fascinated by it. I think I'm going to go for it, at least give it a little try, like put my toe in the water and kind of see what happens with that adventure.
I
But
would try it. I would do
yeah,
that.
it doesn't hurt to try, but instituting that as uh like
Right.
a modality or like a position that I take, and I am strongly recommending a service like this for all of my patients or most of them. That's where this becomes kind of tricky. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but man, life is fun.
So this is how maybe this will tie it together, and
Yeah.
maybe this will be like the final topic, or maybe not. Um, One thing that I was recently asked or invited to, I'm giving a talk, and I'm giving a talk at my ward in church on August 31st.
Okay.
And the topic is uh, Doctrine and Covenants, section 93.
hmm
Um,
I'm gonna pull that up right now.
it's written, it's written really specific.
Do your
And
my
there's,
my
yeah, go ahead.
bishopric at this point, it's kind of funny because every time someone gets up to speak every week, they're like, I got a call from the second counselor and they told me I could talk about whatever I wanted. So
We get
are
really,
you getting like specific directions? Because I could see how that could get hairy in certain
we,
congregations.
yeah, where is it? This will answer the question directly. So
Okay.
they're pretty specific and not they're just the topic is Doctrine and Covenants 93
Okay.
verses 1 through 39.
Okay.
And then there's like a title, which I think they've derived from the curriculum of that week, but the
From the
so
Come Follow Me
yeah,
lesson or something.
so the whole topic of the talk will be Doctrine and Covenants 93, 1 through 39. The glory of God is light and truth.
Ooh,
That's the
love it.
topic. So essentially, it's like, okay, the topic is really anything that, so what they do is that like they don't dictate what I talk about other than like, here is your jumping off point, Doctrine
Yeah.
and Covenants, section 93, verses 1 through 39, and whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've decided I'm using my autonomy like, because it helps me focus my preparation. I'm going to focus on that section, just those verses, because there's a whole bunch of great stuff. In fact, almost immediately I was like, oh, what about all this
Right.
stuff from what about verses 40 to the end? Well, that's not the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
The assignment is the principle of the glory of God is light and truth as
Yeah.
it shows up in Doctrine and Covenants, section 93, 1 through 39. That is how I just decided that's how they give their assignments. And I like that
Mm-hmm.
because that some people really like to be given, you know, I like that focus is my,
Yeah.
that was, like I was just talking about earlier. That helps me focus.
That's no super. That's awesome. I love
It
that.
also, two other things that are super cool about this is that there's a bunch in there. There's plenty to talk about in just that section, and
Hmm.
those 38 verses. And there isn't a book or chapter. I don't know if there's another section of the any of the scriptures that I'm more familiar with. That happens to be a big favorite, that section of mine.
Tell
Ever
me
since
about
my
that. Why?
ever since my mission,
Okay.
on my mission in Washington, Seattle, the
Hmm.
Northwest, where you're from. That's so funny that you that grew up there. Is that, you know what I mean? That's just
Yeah.
cool. Um, I came to appreciate that section because of a talk. There's a series of talks given in the 70s, the lectures from
Madsen.
Truman G. Madsen, and he gives a whole
He's so good.
series on the life of the prophet Joseph Smith.
Yep.
And in one of those talks, in one of those lectures, he has a he also has, I mean, he's a very dynamic speaker, Truman Madsen. I mean, he's since passed, but like he had a way of speaking about the section 93, and he was talking about the more scientific parts of it in the way
Hmm.
that we learn some very specific things about our material universe and the space that's around us. And he and it had never occurred to me that that was to pay attention to it like that. And so from that point, it's always fascinated me,
Hmm.
particularly in particular, where it talks about it's I think that it's a section of the scriptures that, in terms of the use of synonyms,
Yeah.
light is truth, truth is light, they're interchangeable.
Right.
Light is love, the Christ is light, Christ is truth,
Yeah.
the pure love of God is the pure love of Christ. Like all of these kind of interchangeable ideas and principles in direct relation to the nature of God, but specifically the nature of Jesus, like the actual, like what it is that makes Christ Christ.
Hmm.
The like the real nature of God kind of stuff that we don't all. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be probably cited that are like like divine attributes or divine
Hmm.
personality traits, but this is like at the core. And so one of the things that's like kind of like mind blowing is that it says, I mean, this is where we learn that, like, this is where this is where it starts to talk about how all spirit is, it's not in this section specifically, but it relates to another section that everything, all spirit is matter, everything is
Hmm.
matter, everything has spirit in it, everything was created spiritually before it was physically. And our spirits of our spirit your our spirits, or our intelligences, as it's listed here or as it's stated
Hmm.
here, have never not existed.
Right.
It cannot be, what does it say, created or made. Man was also in the beginning with God. This is verse 29. Man was also in the beginning with God. Intelligence, or the light of truth, was not created or made, neither indeed can be.
Mm.
It it's the only place where it says, it's one of the few places where it's literally saying something God can't do,
Right.
because it's against the nature of existence. This is stuff that's always, I mean, I hesitate to say it like that, but it's like it's literally like, you know, God does lots of magnificent things, but he's also a God of like perfect order and perfect integrity, meaning that there's laws that are, um, I mean, eternal, that God abides by these laws and these rules.
Well, I think to add just my thought and my impression, just adding to your thought,
Okay.
and I'll keep this short. There's a reason why we learn this in the temple, and the verbiage is very specific that he organizes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You never hear created like I will create this. It's I will organize this, and I will organize this, and I will organize this, because there is an eternal concept or concept. And I talked with my Sunday school class about this last week when we went over section 88, which talks a lot about the light of Christ and how light is found in him. It's a very long section. Like D&C 88 is like 145 verses long.
Right.
So there was a lot of material to cover in that, but the take-home lesson was Christ is light. And I shared that with my class is that that's why in so many different areas in the scriptures, he's referred, that's one of his other names, right? We talk about Jehovah, but he is, and that he says himself, I am the light and life of this world, you know. And so when you read that verse in 29, I love that verse too because it's very not to think that I'm some brainiac, but it's very intellectual, and I like to think deep about things. And when you start to think about eternity, and I asked my class, they're 12-year-olds, I said, when you sit there and try to think about eternity and the fact that you have always existed and you will always exist, there is no end. Like, what comes to mind? And they all sit there and they're like, oh, like that's really overwhelming, you
And
know?
so the experience that I'm having this time, because my first fascination with it so many years ago was the deeper, more like more technical, intellectual aspect of it. That's the first time that I can remember having that experience with really putting some mental work into considering the scriptures from a very scientific, technical,
Yeah, yeah.
intellectual. So that was the initial
Well,
fascination.
because I think when we're younger and what at the stage in life in which we're talking about, because I could resonate with that, I was always like, Give me something that I can glom onto that would help build my faith to a point where I could say, like, even from a scientific perspective, I know that this is true." I don't know if you resonate with that, but
So
that's
that's
the
and
initial
that so
thinking.
that's the connect that's the here's what's different this time. The only for me the slippery slope of starting at the intellectual part of it or the deeper kind of like oh this is a really technical like there's some truth here about, I mean, this is talking about the nature of God that the rest of Christian sects do not agree with, to the point
Hmm.
that they would even consider it like, at some point,
Blasphemy.
they considered it like disrespectful and blasphemous and like, okay. But like, so for me though, like the slippery slope is the disc living too much in the disconnect of like the intellectualism can be a disconnect,
Hmm.
but it's actually it's one of the most intimate and like personal. So the question then becomes for me, how do I personalize it? And what
Hmm.
you just said was perfect. You were teaching some younger people like you have always existed. Another way of saying that is I've considered this because there's one or two phrases now that are sticking out to me that I've never considered before. You have all, you've always existed. You have always been you.
Mm.
This isn't, you didn't come here and there's this you, and then you're going to go on and become like, like it's not some ethereal thing. You're going to become a different. So that's like where it's the, like, in terms of the way we phrase, like, we don't believe in past lives, but we believed
Hmm.
in a different existence before we came here. There's this existence now. So we believe in a more like progression of like, but we weren't some different person before.
Hmm.
We were essentially at our core. Casey's always been Casey, and maybe even you went by a different name maybe, and you go
Hmm.
and in the world you're known as Casey, Dr. Casey. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
but the core you, the you-ness of you has always been there. And now it's expanding because we are having the mortal experience of human mortality
Yeah.
and learning the learning more about what's always been there, but it's always been there. So not just that we were this little warm fuzzy light of matter
Right.
of a spiritual fine, like perfectly granular wonderfulness floating through, but there was a you,
Right.
and at our core, and God was always God, and the power of the love or the light of God is always been there. And what has made all of this possible is the expanding of the light. And when the earth was created, it wasn't just created out of nothing. There was matter that existed in an unorganized, chaotic, void type of state, and light was brought out of darkness.
Yeah.
It didn't exist with it can't light doesn't exist without its opposite.
Correct.
And then the like the phrase that I'm focused on that hasn't ever stood out to me in terms of like studying is over and over again, not over and over again, but a few times it says that it uses the grace for grace. The way that we learn is we learn that when Christ came to mortality, he learned grace.
Precept upon precept,
Yeah, but
principle to principle.
he went from grace to grace, and then it phrases it a little bit different that we receive grace for grace. So we
Mm.
learn by it's we learn by going by progression, and that's an eternal truth because even Christ did it, and he learned as we do, you know. But I was kind of and I was like, why does it say it like that? It doesn't
Hmm.
say from level to level, and it doesn't say why does it use the word grace? That's super specific. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? We learn
Very.
from going from grace to grace and then receiving grace for grace. So at
Mm.
a certain point, I've received enough grace as I've learned, like I like given some space to learn, and like mistakes are implied and given some
Hmm.
grace period, progressing from grace to grace. Now I'm trading some of that grace that's been received. I'm trading some of it in, or perhaps it's more so that I'm learning how to give someone the ability to go from grace to grace. So I'm trade
Mm.
like that's the trade.
Yeah.
Like I'm really excited about the fact that as a that I can receive grace. I really need that. I'm like, man,
Hmm.
I really need that's the nature of repentance. I'm not super I'm not always that quick to be stoked on grace when someone else has offended me. They need some
Right.
grace. Wait a minute. But
Right.
but I have got mine. I don't need, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm not always excited to forgive or like see past or go, okay, they're because the other thing it talks about too in this section is the the necessity for agency. And we
Hmm.
have the all truth is independent in the sphere in which God has placed it to act for itself as all intelligence also. Otherwise, there is no existence. The nature of existence has to have agency or it doesn't exist,
100%.
which is almost too simple.
Well, that's why the adversary's plan was kicked out in the Council of Heaven, and why a third of the host of heaven decided to follow Lucifer, who's the son of the morning, who is, you know, that's a being of light. You look at that, right? And it's described as so in the scriptures, but his plan was send me, I'll take care of everything. All your children will come back and live with you again.
Do you know what I think about that? I had this thought. I'm interrupting your thought.
No, you're good.
I think one of the reasons in this that we still know so little about what existed before was because at a certain point, if this is all true, which it is, we've always existed. So there, and we've always been us. But at a certain point, we also had agency because
Hmm.
because Lucifer, who was once a son of the morning, chose to rebel and to then encourage others to lead others away. And it was so convincing that many did. Many that we knew for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like I think part of the reason I get a feeling that one of the reasons that we have the veil of forgetfulness and we don't yet get to remember what it was like before is that part of it's I think it was incredibly traumatic. I think it was extremely painful and like real personal hurt. Like
Hmm.
like what do you mean you're not coming? What are you talking about? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like our people that we like our people and now they are there's true enmity, they're at odd, like the temptation that we feel, that's why temptation stings sometimes. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I can't get over this. That's because we're being tempted by people or spirits that knew us real personally, and now it's
Hmm.
being used, it can be a tool to be used against us.
Yeah.
I think that hurts.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like the ultimate
I mean,
betrayal.
just think about the mortal experience, which is very brief. It's a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the ocean of what this whole section is talking about. But to have a beloved, a fellow intelligence just split, and to have that occur. And you just think, like, to my point, I was saying, in this mortal experience, have you lost a best friend? Have you lost a loved one? Have you lost XYZ, fill in the blank? Like, what have you lost? And to exactly what you were saying, to think about how that experience would have been in the in that grand battle in the pre-existence, that's wild. I'm glad you brought that up because that is a great point.
I mean, it says war, dude,
Hmm. Yeah.
warfare.
Yeah. And that's why I love, like, to your assignment. What's my favorite little section of your assignment is 36 through 39, where it says the glory of God is intelligence, which if translated correctly and you're interpreting this, I guess maybe it's the way I'm sharing this as my own opinion, but if we are intelligences, and this goes to the other moments in scripture like Moses 139. Behold, this is my work and my glory to bring to pass the immortality and eternal life of man. Like, that is God's mission. And so in 36, when he says the glory of God is intelligence, which is us, that's you, that's me, that's God's glory. It's us. And then he says, or in other words, light and truth. Every spirit of man was innocent in the beginning, and God having redeemed man from the fall, men became again in their infant state innocent before God. And that wicked one cometh and taketh away light and truth through disobedience from the children of men and because of the tradition of their fathers. And that again just goes back and speaks to the war that continues here in this mortal experience, in the vessels that we carry in our bodies. Going back and just looking at verse 36, the glory of God is intelligence. We are the glory, but we lose that light through disobedience. And man, that's so hard because it's impossible to be perfectly obedient. I don't know if you agree, disagree, but this life is meant to make mistakes, to be disobedient. We do make mistakes, we lose some of that light, but to get back to that and get
Well,
in contact with with the intelligence at the very beginning of it all, that is the glory of God, which is also light.
but then what makes up, so like there's a difference between there's mistakes and there's sins. Sin,
Right.
like willful disobedience, like just like, or the temptation or the sin of apathy, like, oh, what's the who, okay, just, it's fine.
Right.
What does it really matter?
Sister so and so doesn't need my help. I'm not going over,
Right.
something like that.
Like, or like the sin of, like, you know, I mean, it's one thing to try to seek forgiveness and and have patience for someone that, an elderly sister in your ward that needs help. Okay.
Right.
Now, what about, like, but what about people that should know better, or that I think should know better and do better? Because for me to feel safe in every instance, I need everybody around me to be, especially like, to give grace to people that are in authority. Like, these people that have made these rules
Yeah.
that I don't agree with, that affect me, my daily life, and they don't know what they're talking about. Like, how dare they?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
meanwhile, they are people who have been doing their jobs in this, and I'm talking about in this context of my work. I've been doing this work for less than 3 years. So, is what's more likely that I've come to it with 2.5 years of experience and going, wow, look at this imperfect system. There maybe the people with more experience do know a little bit more about it running an
Hmm.
organization. Also, both are true, that both can be true though. Like, there's a give and take, but there's also an order to things.
Hmm.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? And
Yeah.
so I don't always think of the daily, like, as I'm driving to take the vehicle back across town, where we keep the keys. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I don't always think, like, I don't bring the eternal perspective. And I've been doing it more because here we are talking about it, but, like, it doesn't always occur to me to bring eternal, like, perspective into these, the what I perceive to be the mundane things of life. Like, oh, what does this matter? Well, nothing or everything.
Hmm.
This implies it's actually everything. Like,
Yeah.
it is, because nothing's predestined, but it's also not by chance.
Yeah.
And so, if the God that's created everything and is extremely interested in every detail, I have opportunity to bring that to, like, I have the opportunity to invite light into, like, little dark corners of my life.
Yeah.
But I don't want to think of it like that all the time. I will, like, but yeah, but that's, like, there's some separation, except that there isn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think that goes back to your point you were making about grace for grace and entertaining the concept of grace. Because to my understanding, grace is, as the scriptures teach in 2 Nephi chapter 2, men are saved by grace after all that they can do. And there's a big rift between the evangelicals and the Methodists and the Pentecostals and the Catholics and the Mormons and whoever that don't really agree on that concept of, well, we're saved by grace. Yeah, we know that. We agree with that actually. We are saved by grace, but our take is after all that you can do. And so when we fall short in those verses I was reading 36 through 39, like when we lose that light through disobedience, I think what brings that back boils down to one word, the atonement. It's the atonement of Jesus Christ. That's what gives us grace. There's no other option for that. And that's why the other Christian sects will talk about we're saved by grace. All you have to do is accept Jesus into your heart. You're good to go.
But this
And
implies
that's tricky, right?
that's just, and but that idea, that's an idea of grace, that's it. This is this is giving us an idea of grace as it's
A
the
continuous
it's the
process.
ultimate progression. It's
Right.
to go, that's the first grace. Here's the grace. But what about the grace? Like, it, we are saved by grace after all that we can do. We're given the opportunity to we're given every opportunity to do all that we can do
Mm-hmm. Yep.
to then increase our capacity for grace. That's different than I haven't thought about that. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I'm stoked for you, man. I told my class I was also going to go back and review section 89, which is the word of wisdom, because I've got some interesting takes on that. But maybe we tabled a conversation about section 89 for next week, because there's some really interesting things in there that I want to point out, that I
Yeah.
don't think we've ever really talked about.
Yeah,
And
that'll be next week.
yeah,
For, but definitely.
let's do that. But I'm excited. I think you're going to deliver a quite the sermon, and so I'm stoked for you. It's in 2 weeks,
It's the
Not this
last.
Sunday, but next Sunday.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
that's
correct.
awesome. I think the last time I spoke in church was the first month or two that we moved into this ward, which was no, I haven't spoken in this ward. No, yeah, I have. Yeah, that would have been about 4 years ago. So it's been a bit.
So the thing that I was excited to talk to you about tonight, but this encapsulates the whole thing, because once I realized, focused on like when the word and the phrase grace and grace to grace stuck out to me, it occurred to me that I've read that section a million times and I had never focused on that part of it.
Hmm.
And then that was 2 or 3 days ago, and so I've been thinking about it since. And then, like, was it yesterday? And I was so excited about this that I ended up I was excited to tell my parents about it. And it's this, because what's the disconnect is. So I don't I here's what it is. I don't have children of my own yet. That's the plan, and it'll happen when it's time, with the right in the right whatever configuration of whoever,
Right.
whatever. But I don't know if I don't know yet if like my parents will be alive to see me have teenagers,
Hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
often, though, because of my work, and I get to be around and help people that really could use some grace. So I was with a client the other day, and he's a person that I've worked with since December of 2023, and he's just got a lot going on, mentally, and he's been homeless for a long time, and he came from an extremely disadvantaged upbringing in the South.
Hmm.
And just like if ever there was a person that was, just dealt just the worst cards, that's
Yeah.
this person. Um, he is him and I are we're just a couple of we're about the same age. I think I'm maybe a little older than him, but we're just a couple of
Hmm.
middle-aged white dudes. I
Yeah.
always have the worst time with compassion with someone that's my like demographic,
Yeah.
middle-aged white dude. I have, like, if it's an older woman, if it's a younger person, if it's literally anybody else other than like middle-aged white dude, single able-bodied white dude in his 40s that should really just get it together. Suck it up.
Yeah.
Suck it
Right.
up. Never in and not to I'm all over the place with this, but it's like,
No, you're fine.
we really don't read in the scriptures, especially when we read about the attributes of like Christ-like attributes. It's implied that work ethic is implied, and we want to avoid being indolent and lazy,
Yeah.
but we don't read anything that I can think of that is the principle of like, oh, just suck it up.
Yeah.
I mean, we can say that there's definitely grit, and there's definitely like resilience, self-resiliency, self-reliance, these kinds of things, but we don't ever see like, you know what, just get it together. Like, just
Right.
be better.
I
Like
agree. I can't think of anything.
and I'm not saying they're opposite. I'm just saying, like, in terms of the way we interact with somebody. I mean, there's plenty of examples of tough love. We could
Right.
like chastisement. In fact, most of the Doctrine and Covenants, if you like, really are based on kind of like, there's a lot of chastisement of like
Yeah.
now. In fact, at the end of that section, they're like, they were like, and you, by the way, you haven't been doing this. You have, all of you have some things to change in your homes. Like,
Yep.
step it up. But it doesn't say it in the like with the way I just said, like step it up, dude. Like
Yeah.
that is not Christ-like.
Hmm.
So this guy, I've worked with this guy many hours, and he has done some. He's oh, how do I'm moving him from one shelter to another because he got into he had some behavioral issues yet again at this one place, and now we have the ability to move him to this other place, and he had lost as we were driving, and we had a vehicle full of his belongings. He said, I think I lost a particular document that was a pretty important document that would have that he needed for medical reasons, financial reasons, identification reasons. Super important.
Yeah.
Arguably the most important document that he physically owns. That aside from like maybe his birth certificate,
Right.
which he doesn't have in his possession. We have it locked in a safe because he's transient. Like, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. Okay. So, but this one document he had worked to get, and he was like, I think I lost the document. And I said, and it's the closest I've ever, I just had the feeling of a parent with a teenager that, and I'm like, how, it's impossible for you. I didn't say this,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I'm gonna wring your neck. Like, I'm like, you can't have lost it. That doesn't make any sense. I said,
Right.
and I said, because it means that, he's like, and he wasn't being defiant. That's what was different about that. He wasn't like making excuses. He's like, I know, I don't know why I'm like this. But I was still frustrated. And I'm like, we'll say his name's we'll call it Mr. B. I said, Mr. B, do you know how many hours it went into helping you get that document, and that you did, and that document will help, the next 6 months of your life will be significantly more livable because of that document, like, for every reason. Yeah, no, I know. But you misplaced it. Like, why wouldn't you have it taped to your body?
Right.
Now, the answer is he's not like accustomed to, he's new to the world of caring about adult things.
Right.
Oh, important document. Before I do anything else, I need to save, you know what I mean? There's too much impulse still going on, world of
Yeah.
addiction and things like that. But in the moment, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And I felt it also at the same time going, because I, not many years ago, was a person making choices like that, making the type of choices in my life that made the
Right.
people that my loved ones in my life go,
What are you doing? Yeah.
what are you doing? What are you doing? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and
Yeah.
like, and I, in a moment of frustration, he's first he said, I don't know why I do these things. Maybe I'm just stupid. I said, no, you're not. That's the problem. If you were just, first of all, let's not use that word because that's not helpful. But like, let's just say you were like stupid. Like,
Yeah.
like, let's say that you're not, though. You're
Right.
actually the opposite, and you're extremely intelligent and very observant and extremely aware, and you take very good care of your dog, probably too good, like to your own, like, you know what I mean? Like all of these things. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, my life, like right now, I wouldn't be having an aneurysm because you're actually, but you're not stupid. Then that's the problem. And I said, and then we got a little heated again. And I said, well, like clearly you don't care. You just don't care. And he said, and he got real, and he doesn't always do this. And he didn't get like hurt. He just went, yeah, man, but like, I do care. And I was like,
Yeah.
and I said, you know what? I know you do. I know you do, because your actions, I can tell you've been doing your best. And
Yeah.
I kind of like, I said, I didn't, I didn't mean to be frustrated. And he said, I don't know what the disconnect is. Like, I don't know
Mm,
why, like he's identifying something's not firing,
right.
and the willingness to do something about it is there. That's what was different. And
Yeah.
then I realized what makes up what makes up for that, because he should like it, and the answer is grace. That's the grace. But I do care.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I know that, and I don't know how to. You can't get there from here. He's like, I can't get there from here. Or he didn't say it like that, but that's what he's saying. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, and so, like I had prayed for. I didn't know it would be that moment, but I was like, I would like to have a different experience with this aspect of this section that I haven't considered yet. And now I'm like, I was right in the middle of it, and
Yeah.
I was like, this is like part of like probably a tiny sliver of parenthood. Like, I love you so much, and I'm equally fighting the urge to kill you right now.
Yeah.
Like, kill, you know what I mean? Not kill, but like,
Oh, no.
like
No, I get,
I'm going to wring your neck.
yeah. No, that's the battle that we're in right now. And maybe this was a fault of Molly and myself as we're raising our kids. And so now, Hank's 14, Nolan's 11, Rachel's 7, and we're trying our best to let them be as independent as possible. So in an example where it's like not similar, but somewhat similar to what you just shared, we got to get in the car. Hey, Nolan, get your baseball stuff. He knows what his baseball stuff is. Get in the car, getting in. Uh, and it's one day it's, oh, I forgot my cup. Well, you need that. If you'd like to have children in the future, you don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
get pegged there, right?
yeah.
Another day it's, oh, my cleats. I only got my Crocs on. I forgot my cleats. And
Like, it's the most fundamental.
it's like, dude, you're going to play a game. But that's our reaction, and that's what's sad about like what you were just talking about there just makes me think as a father, how can I be more patient? How can I take a step back, take a deep breath, and just offer them grace and not belittle them or make them think that they are stupid? Because I think as parents we do that a lot with our kids. It goes into the yelling and the discipline and the XYZ of it all. And the kids just they feel disappointed. And there's to a big degree, without getting into too much detail, my daughter and I, we don't get along very well. And she's 7. She's a sass, and I think we've talked about a little bit about this, but I think truly she is my mini me, and we butt heads like no other. And I can't figure out the code. And what's so frustrating about the whole process, she's 7, but she's so smart, she's so intelligent. I cannot figure her out. And I've lived 42 years of experience in this life, and I've got a 7-year-old that is testing my patience more than anything I've ever experienced in my life. It's wild. It's wild.
and and so this happened yesterday,
Hmm.
and um I had the great opportunity, like, and then as I'm driving home, I'm pondering all these things, and the realization that my prayer had been answered, and a literal example has been like I lived just, and I lived it, and I was like, because I love this guy, like,
Hmm.
and I can't stand him, like, because I mean, I'm literally him, not, I mean, not even many years ago in terms, but like, we are the same.
Right.
And because, and is it by any chance that okay, so I'm getting, and I'm overly sentimental. So I'm in my car, and I'm getting all, weepy about it. But it's joyful, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And then the very next morning, this morning, he said, he said, he said, I said, did you make it to your, he had an appointment to get to. I said, um, did you get on are you on your way? And he said, I, he had lost he almost immediately lost his room key. And then he got on and we went over this. I said, because it's in a different part of town now. And he
Right.
has, but here's where you go. You get on this one bus and it
Right.
goes, you just stay on it and it's going to take you right to the area of town you're familiar with. It is a direct shot.
As easy as it could be.
He asked me yesterday, which way do I go? I said, let's look out the window. It's in that corner, and that way is east, and you need to go the other way. So tomorrow morning, if you see the sun, go away from it. I said that, and he's like, I got it. I said,
Yeah.
dude, you just have to go that way. It's even like kind of downhill. Just go. Don't go uphill.
Go
Don't
downhill.
don't go that way. Go
Yeah.
that way. Not like go vaguely and turn and then like do not go. Nothing you need tomorrow is that way. Go that way. Like when you're at the beach and you see, like now like on the coast, you'll see tsunami. It's kind of funny, kind of if you see like tsunami evacuation route, like and it's
Right.
just an arrow pointing the opposite way of the water. It's like
Go that way. Go uphill.
the wall of water, go that way.
Yeah.
Do not go toward. And I said, that's all you got to do, dude. It's the you. That's all you. And
Yeah.
the next morning, he's like, I got on the. I don't know how he managed it. He didn't just go the wrong way. He got. He went. He did literally about as opposite as anything. Like he
Right.
ended up in the part of town you would have had to like try. And and again, yesterday I had this epiphany type of spiritual experience, and I'm like, yes. And then the very next morning, I'm like, I literally said over the text, I'm like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then we have this rapport now where I'm like, okay, like so like tomorrow will be like I need to go with him. Like if he's gonna
Yeah.
be in like I need to show him. But isn't that dude? Isn't how like gospel oriented is that whole thing? Like
Right.
oh, sometimes we have to be shown like it's literally like no wonder in the what is it, the footprints poem,
Well, yeah,
and
yeah.
why is there one set of footprints? Because I carried you, like, and like it's like carried me through the rough parts of life, but
Right.
also like, it's because like I had to carry you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or in other words, if you're left to your own devices and your own decisions, which will always still have agency, but someone's got to step in and help. Like that's wild.
Right.
That's such a crazy story. That's hilarious.
And it's so like it's solvable, like that's
Yeah.
the like and because yeah, like you know, I think sometimes I'm too worried about, well, I don't want to enable him, he needs to learn.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, he does, like, and but he wants to. And
Hmm.
I'm 48, and there's parts of life that took me like, and I'm like, I'll have life figured out by the time I'm dead. Or you know what I mean? But and
Right.
we won't, because
Yeah.
there's so much more. Like progression is like eternal progress. That's the grace of progression. It's like
Right.
thank goodness. But like now that's grace to grace. Now I get to trade. I have a reservoir of grace. This person, no one's gonna. There's no one else in this life up to, there's some now there are, but for a long time there was nobody that was gonna give him any grace at all.
Anything.
And you can
Yeah.
see it in his actions, because his fundamental thing is like, I'm probably just stupid, except you're not.
Hmm.
It would be
Yeah.
easier. You don't get to be off the hook.
Hmm.
But I don't get to be off the hook either, which is I'm not, yeah, like it just blows my mind how beautiful that is. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
100%. 100%. I think
Thank
I
you for
shared this.
yeah.
No, that was great. I was just, it reminded me of the one patient that I had worked with, and I think I brought this up in one of our conversations in the past, but it was a guy that had a, work injury at a very young age, 18 years old, and got on oxycodones. Long story short, he ends up in my office because like he either gets out of his addictions or his life is over as we know it. Any drug you can think of, he's taken it, And it's just like he was one of my favorite patients I've ever worked with because he was so intelligent, he was so smart, he wasn't stupid. He had been locked in situations during his life that led him to where he was in that position. And I think I love how you said we build up that reservoir of grace because I think when one intelligence or being of light experiences something that that is grace, we get to share it with other people. And that's a beautiful thing. That's what makes life wonderful. And then at the same time, we get to fight the darkness, which is so fun.
Yeah.
Real fun. But no, thanks for sharing that. That was awesome. I'm glad we got on that topic for the rest of this chat. That was amazing.
Oh, but I appreciate, yeah, thanks for letting me ramble through that. I hadn't, I the, just ha I'm in the middle of it. I don't know where he's going to be tomorrow. And
Well, that's the reason why I love that. Again, we're doing this. Even if we just kept this to ourselves, this is like personal journals. Like this, if you record and save this, like
yeah,
in 10 years, you can go back and look at this episode and be like, oh yeah, I remember that chat we had. That was awesome,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it's live life experience because I do think there as we get older, especially, we start to forget these things. So I'm glad we're recording this. This is amazing.
Me too.
So I love you, brother.
Oh, I love you, brother.